Welcome back everyone. In today's video, we are going to cover the core concepts that power LLMs. So we'll start by breaking down how the text is transformed into tokens. Then we'll cover the embeddings. We will also understand the transformers and the attention mechanism. And in the end, I will cover the high level overview of how to use an LLM via an API. So this video will set the stage for the upcoming hands-on session. Let's get started. So let's start with the tokens first. What are tokens? When we feed any text to any machine learning model, the text is first broken into smaller units, and these smaller units are called tokens. So each token might be a word, it could be a subword, or even a character. It depends on the method of tokenization. So as an example, we see the text, the cat sat on the mat, and here is one possible set of tokens. So to better understand tokens, let's go to this link, which is the tokenizer from the OpenAI. So let's open this link, and here you can see that this tokenizer is made available by the OpenAI platform, the platform behind the ChatGPT product. So as you can see here, this tool can help us understand how a piece of text might be tokenized by a language model. And here we can see different GPT models, 4.0, 3.5 legacy GPT models. So what we can do, we can simply click on this button, show example. It will generate an example string. And here we can see that this particular text has been converted into these many tokens. So we can see there are 53 tokens for 252 characters. And here in this color coding, you can see these different tokens. Now, depending on the model and the tokenization, one can have a different number of tokens. It depends on the method of tokenization and the model itself. So the input text is first converted into tokens. And when we use any paid API, whether it is OpenAI or Google Gemini, we are charged on the basis of number of tokens. So whenever we are entering a prompt or getting any output, input and output both are converted into tokens. So we are charged on the basis of the number of tokens that we consume. And you can actually try different text. So let's enter a custom text. And you can see there are 5 tokens for 13 characters, and you can see the color coding here. So this is the first step. The text is converted into tokens. Once we have the tokens, the next step is to get the embeddings. Now the token is converted into a numerical vector, and this vector is called an embedding. As we understand, the model is essentially a mathematical function, and this model or this function understands the number. So the input has to be a number, and hence the token is converted into a numerical format, which is called the embedding. The concept of embeddings is very important because that's how an LLM learns the context and how to put the correct words in the correct context. So we can think of embeddings as each token's address in a high dimensional space where similar words with similar meanings will end up near each other. So let's spend some time on this concept to better understand. Suppose we have a two-dimensional space. So here we have the x-axis and the y-axis, and we have point x1 and its coordinate could be 2, 3. Similarly, we have another point x2 and its coordinate could be 3, 4. So you see this is the vector of x1 and this is the vector of x2. Now if we plot these points on the 2D space that we have, so for example, this is 1, 2 and 3, and this is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if we plot the x1, it will come somewhere over here. This is x1. And if we plot x2, which is 3, 4, it will come over here. This is x2. So if we add another point, which is x3, and the vector of x3 is, for example, 2.1, 3.1. So if we now plot x3 on the same 2D space, so we know 2.1 and 3.1 would lie somewhere over here, which is x3. So with the help of this plotting and this 2D space, we understand if we plot the numbers, we understand that x1 and x3 are near each other, while x1 and x3 are far from x2. So that's how we can see that similar numbers appear near each other on the 2D space. And if we extend this concept, then we can have a 3D space where we have another coordinate, which is x, y, and z. And if we have a point x4 with coordinates like 2, 3, 4, then this is the vector of point x4. And in the same way, we can plot different points on this 3D space as well. So when we plot different points according to their vectors on the space, we can see how close they are to each other as compared to other points. Now the thing is, when we are talking about embeddings, we are talking about a high dimensional space. So here we can see this is a 2D vector, this is a 3D vector. But in case of embeddings, in relation to a mathematical model or the machine learning model, we can have a vector with, let's say, hundreds of dimensions or even thousands. So that's how big space we are talking about. So what happens if we take the example of, let's say, 3D space only? So suppose we have a token for cat. This is token number 1, and its coordinates after the embedding process are, for example, 1 comma 2 comma 3. And if we plot this cat word or cat token, let's say it comes over here, so this is T1. Similarly, when we have another token for another text, let's say dog, so this is T2 and its coordinates, for example, are 2 3 and 4. And if we plot dog token, then let's say it comes over here, which is T2. Now let's say we have another text, and so the next token is T3 for, let's say, word river. And after the embedding process, if the corresponding vector for this one is 10 11 13, so if we plot this token which is for river, let's say this comes somewhere over here. So as we understand now, after the plotting, we can see that T1 and T2 are close to each other while they are far from T3. So it helps an LLM to understand the closeness or the similarity of different tokens, different words. Now the LLM or the model can understand that the tokens for T1 and T2 are close to each other, so they probably have the similar meaning. So cat and dog probably have the similar meaning, and we know because they both lie under the space of animals, while river is something different. So that's why embeddings is important. The token is converted into a numerical vector which looks something like this, but with a very high dimension, and the text and the tokens are converted or plotted onto a high dimensional space. And that's how the LLM understands the similarity or the closeness between different words, and it helps an LLM to understand the context as well. And that's why I said that you can think of embeddings as the address of each token in a high dimensional space, where similar words or words with similar meanings will end up near each other. So if we take the same example, then in this space, in this 3D space, in this example, vectors of cat and dog, which is T1 and T2, would be closer than the vector of river, which is T3. Okay, which means model can now infer that cat and dog share some kind of similarity, linguistic similarity, than cat and orange. So this is the concept of embeddings, and each model can have a different mode of embeddings. Okay, so there is not one uniform or universal way of embeddings converting tokens into numbers. There are different mechanisms, different algorithms, or different ways to convert tokens into numbers. It depends on the model. So here you can see we have another link which is coming from the TensorFlow project. So if you go to this link, so this is just a quick way of visualizing embeddings. You can see in this sample, there are 200 dimensions and 10,000 points. And after the plotting, the space would look something like this. You can see, for example, this point is very far from the center. So all the tokens which lie here are near to each other, but they are far from this particular token, this particular vector. So I hope you understand the concept of embeddings, and let's move on. The next thing we will understand is transformers and attention. So what are transformers and what is attention? The concept of transformers and attention is an extremely important topic for the LLMs, and it was a landmark paper in this space. Now, I'm not an expert in this area, but I will try to cover enough details so that we can get gist of it. So transformers are a type of neural network architecture which makes LLMs extremely good at handling text data, and they use a mechanism called attention. So we will understand a little bit about attention mechanism. Now, before transformers, the earlier models or earlier architectures or designs used to read the text sequentially, and there were a couple of problems with reading text sequentially. A, slow speed, so it made the training slow. And second, it was hard to capture the relationships between distant words. So for example, if you are entering a long prompt, then it was difficult for the earlier models to understand the full context, how distant words or tokens are related to each other. Now, the good thing about transformers architecture is that it can read the text or process the text in parallel. And because it can read the data in parallel and efficiently, so it can read more data in the same amount of time, which improves the learning speed of the model. Now, the second key ingredient is the attention mechanism. Attention is same as focusing on important things. Now, suppose here is an example, the sentence that the cat sat on the mat because it was tired. Now, as you read this sentence, your mind automatically processed certain things. It checked the grammar, it checked the context, you understood the meaning of this sentence, and you know that this particular it is referring to the cat. Now, how do you know this? Because the mind is processing the whole sentence in parallel. It is focusing on different aspects of the sentence, grammatical, linguistic, and all sorts of things. And that is the essence of transformers and attention mechanism. In the same way, when this particular architecture processes text in parallel, it basically assigns different weights to different parts of the input. And because of this weight assignment, it can effectively focus on the relevant pieces of the text. So in this mechanism, each token of the input text is related to every other token of the same input text. So it is kind of many-to-many relationship. Then there is something called attention head. To put it simply, the attention head is a certain aspect of the parsing. So for example, one attention head could be focusing on the grammar of the input text, while other attention head could be focusing on the linguistic semantics. So this allows the algorithms to process the text in parallel by focusing on different aspects of the input text. And accordingly, the mechanism assigns weights to different tokens, and that's how it understands the context of the input text. Now, why are we discussing transformers and attention? It was a groundbreaking paper which changed the learning process of LLMs. Many modern LLMs are actually based on the transformers architecture. So if we just take the example of GPT, then the full form of GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. It is based on the transformers architecture. It is actually a transformer. So that's all on the transformers and attention. Let's move on. So far we have covered all the key concepts related to LLMs, and now it's time to discuss the LLM itself. So an LLM, or the large language model, is a machine learning model, and by now we understand what is a machine learning model. So LLM is trained on massive amounts of text, and it is called large because an LLM generally has a very high number of parameters, as you can see on the slide, often in billions. LLMs are usually built on transformer architecture. We already covered the transformer architecture along with the attention on the previous slide, so that's how it relates to LLM. So in a nutshell, an LLM is a model that has been trained off massive amounts of data. So to train such a model, we need vast amount of data, vast text collections like entire libraries of books maybe, or research papers, or billions of sentences from the internet. And because LLMs are generally trained on such a diverse collection of data, it allows the models to learn and understand the general language patterns. And that's how they capture complex linguistic patterns. And here's a quick note, because if we think about the massive training set, then we understand that it's not always possible to train an LLM using supervised learning because the data set is so huge. So LLMs are generally trained using self-supervised learning model. Now let's talk about the capabilities of LLMs, which we fully understand. So LLMs can be used to generate the content. They understand the human language. They can generate the blog posts, articles. They can write a report, so on and so forth. They can also be used for conversation. So modern LLMs, they understand the context that can span over multiple sentences or multiple prompts, and they can even have human-like dialogues. We can use LLMs for translations because they have been trained on massive amount of data which could be in different languages, so they can be fine-tuned for the translation, the language translation processes. They can also be used for code generation. There are numerous products in this area where they can generate the code. And last but not the least, LLMs can also be used as a brainstorming partner. LLMs also have some sort of challenges, so let's talk about them. Hallucination. What is hallucination? Now, when we interact with LLMs, they can sometimes produce convincing but incorrect information, and this is called hallucination. Because what they are generating is actually just a probability based on their training set, which does not guarantee the factual accuracy. So it could happen that they can generate the incorrect information. So this is hallucination. What is bias? Well, because they learn on the public data like internet posts, social media text, or Reddit. And so because they are training on the public data, so any biases or any certain perspectives which are present in the training data can carry over into the model's outputs. So in some scenarios, the output can be biased, or the thinking process of the LLM can be biased. All right, let's now move on and try to understand how can we utilize LLMs, how can we integrate LLMs into our applications. So when we started this series, I talked about we are not going to create LLM from scratch, but we are going to use existing products, existing solutions, existing models into our applications. So how do we use an LLM in the application? Now the thing is, it is same as using any other product using their APIs. So here you can see on the slide that on the right hand side, we have the LLM, and LLM has different capabilities related to text, image generation, audio, or embeddings. And here we have the API layer. So what is happening here, the organization which owns the LLM will expose a set of APIs, and your application will interact with those APIs with that API layer, and that's how we can use the LLM. So we don't have to create or train or deploy or scale an LLM from scratch. It's already done. We are simply using the service. So when we are integrating an LLM into the application, we are simply using the API, and via that API, we will use specific capabilities of that LLM. So what are the steps to integrate an LLM API? The first step is you get the API key. If it is the paid API, then you have to sign up and get the API key. Then you choose the model, because the product will be offering different models depending on the pricing. So you choose the model, you get the endpoint. Then you create the resource same as any other REST API. It could be a request, it could be a prompt. You send the request by tuning the parameters. The API layer of that product will handle the request, the call will be delegated to the LLM, a response will be returned, and you will handle the response. So on a very high level, it is as simple as that. So this is where we will wrap up this video, and in this video we unpacked some of the core concepts behind LLMs like tokens, embeddings, transformers. We also touched upon the challenges and capabilities of LLMs. We understood the steps to integrate an LLM API. Now the next video is going to be a hands-on video where we will see how to integrate OpenAI API. We will see how exactly we can integrate models like GPT in our applications. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.